Everyone's so caught up in elite fighters' power. The power of this, power of that, power of this, power of that. Muhammad Ali was not the most powerful punching heavyweight in the world. Here, this is Muhammad Ali versus Sonny Liston. What allowed Muhammad Ali to be able to knock out so many elite fighters has to do with smarts. Smarts. You have to set up a knockout to get a knockout. And it's very hard when you're dealing with elite fighters. You have to outsmart them. If you look at this pull counter by Muhammad Ali against Sonny Liston, the way how he was able to hurt Liston was because most fighters, the punches that really hurt them are not the punches they brace for, and therefore they've tightened up their muscles to receive the impact of a punch. It's the punch you did not brace for that knocks you out. Okay? As they say, the punch you didn't see coming. Now, if you notice, I'm going to show you guys, because boxing's always about, you see, there's so many things to boxing, right? But boxing's always about things that you don't factor into the equation. Sonny Liston was stronger than Muhammad Ali. He was much more powerful than Muhammad Ali. He had a great knockout. He was a very strong guy, okay? But Liston never saw that punch. In fact, a lot of people said they didn't see the punch. They called it a phantom punch. But you clearly see Liston's jaw just buckle, and then Liston goes down. It clearly is a punch that landed. It's called a pull counter. Now, what really happened here is Liston never saw Muhammad Ali's hand because it came from a low angle. Liston was throwing his punch, didn't see that pull counter, which was pulled this time from below, and he looped it high. See? He looped it over Liston's jab. And Liston was focusing on Ali's face, and he was reaching in. Remember, if you reach in, you pay. So he was reaching in to get to Muhammad Ali, fell short. Muhammad Ali basically snapped back, and he threw that counter from down low. Now Mayweather, he throws his counter from up high, so you can at least see the counter. Ali threw it from low. See, his hands were held low, and he threw it from the hip, and then he looped it over the jab. Watch it again. There you go. Okay, kind of hooked it over the jab almost. All right, look how low Ali's hand is. See how low it is? So Liston throws it, and Ali drops his hand and then loops it over Liston's jab. See? Liston never saw the counter. Because of that, he couldn't brace for it, and because he didn't brace for it, it had a much greater impact on him than would be normally. Do you guys understand how boxing works? I hope so. Now let's talk about what happened with Foreman. With Foreman, Ali outsmarted Foreman in a different kind of way. He let Foreman expend a lot of energy while he blocked his body with his elbows. So the rope-a-dope wasn't that Ali was getting hit to his body all the time and he had abs of steel. No. Ali tightened up and he allowed his elbows to be there, so George Foreman was wailing away at Ali's elbows and his arms. And when the appropriate time came where he knew that George Foreman had expended a lot of energy and he was tired because Foreman stupidly just kept on punching in front of Ali, and sometimes recklessly too, not even to the side of Ali. When Ali realized that Foreman had punched himself out, then he launched his attack, because Ali did not want Foreman to recover from it. This is in slow motion so that you can see what happened. Well, in this case, you're not seeing the whole thing. I thought you would see the whole thing. Let's see if we can get the entire thing here somewhere. Maybe this one might be at real speed. Yeah. So what happens here is Ali now turns the tide on George Foreman, pivots out, spins out, and then crashes him when he realizes his energy is gone. And he catches him with some shots on the button and takes George Foreman out. Now Foreman had a false sense of confidence that he was beating up Ali. He didn't understand why Ali wasn't falling, which was kind of stupid, because you should know if you're hitting a guy to the body and he's bracing for shots and he's also using his elbows to block most of the punches, you're not really hurting him. So you can see Ali wasn't hurt at all. And then in the weather and conditions you needed to pace yourself, Foreman didn't do that. So Foreman actually punched himself out, and then Ali was able to finish him. That's what happened in that fight. Again, using smarts over just punching power. Now, when we talk about George Foreman was able to redo that favor to Michael Moore, the problem with Michael Moore and why he lost that fight against George Foreman wasn't because George Foreman was stronger than him or bigger than him or Foreman landed a lucky punch. None of those things apply. Foreman set up Moore for the KO. The sad thing about it is Moore was so hard-headed he wouldn't listen to his trainer, who was telling him that's exactly what Foreman was doing. See, Michael Moore was winning this fight easily through 10 rounds. The first 9 rounds, he was winning the fight, but at the same time, Foreman was setting him up, making him circle in the opposite direction so that Foreman could land his straight right. Generally, since Michael Moore is a southpaw, when you're a southpaw, you circle to your right to stay away from the powerful right hand of your orthodox fighter. Michael Moore was doing that for the majority of the fight, and then he started, because of George Foreman's jab and because George Foreman kept on throwing some hooks, Foreman started to encourage him to stand in front of him. Now, there were 2 major reasons why Foreman was able to do that. One, he made Michael Moore have a false sense of confidence like Muhammad Ali had doped him into doing, and had a false sense of confidence as well. Michael Moore felt he had felt George Foreman's full power, and so he was not anymore in awe of it or afraid of it. So he started circling and going toe-to-toe with George Foreman. His trainer, Teddy Atlas, was encouraging him to keep distance because George Foreman could set him up with something. Slowly, George Foreman was able to use his jab and also to use some small little hooks to encourage Michael Moore to circle to his left. So Michael Moore started to disregard the power of George Foreman, stand in front of George Foreman and fight him as if he was going to fight him on the inside. And also, he not only gave Foreman the perfect distance, but he also gave Foreman the right circling. And also, in spite of Teddy Atlas telling him stop circling to your right, maintain distance, don't give him an opportunity to land the 1-2, Teddy Atlas said that from round 7 all the way up to 10. As Michael Moore would not listen to him. Michael Moore felt he knew more than his trainer, who could see everything. So unlike Floyd Mayweather, who doesn't take chances, doesn't underestimate his opponent at any time in the fight, Michael Moore was duped into circling to his left, and George Foreman kept on tapping him with the little jab to make sure he had the right distance. He also hit him with a left hook to get Michael Moore to keep on circling to his left. And slowly but surely, he was setting him up for that 1-2. So when Michael Moore slipped the 1, George Foreman came over the top with the 2 in round 10. It didn't knock down Michael Moore, and George Foreman was expecting Michael Moore to fall, but instead Michael Moore stood. He froze up in front of George Foreman, which allowed George Foreman, even though Michael Moore's hands were up, to cut through his guard and then come with the 1-2 one more time. And the result is what you see in front of you right now in this GIF. So once again, smarts is what caused George Foreman to beat an elite fighter who otherwise, if the elite fighter had listened to his trainer, and Michael Moore will forever be haunted by this, he did not listen to his trainer. He was hard-headed. He would not listen to his trainer. And as a result of not listening to his trainer, he got knocked out. It wasn't because George Foreman was a heavy puncher, as people say, or that he came from the old school. It was that Michael Moore did not listen to his trainer, and so he got knocked out. Again, people, if you have a trainer in a corner and the trainer's seeing certain things and he tells you to do something, he can see things. If he's saying a guy's setting you up to knock you out, you listen to your corner. Okay? Floyd Mayweather Jr. listened to his father when fighting Manny Pacquiao. His father was telling him he's fighting scared and blah, 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 blah. But Floyd listened to his father. Not once did he disagree with his father. He tried to implement everything his father said. I remember when his father said, "You're fighting scared. You need to push this guy back, man. This guy ain't nothing." So Floyd pushed him back in round 5. Okay? Whatever his father told him to do, he would take it up. You know, he would listen to his father. People say Floyd don't listen to his father. Oh, Floyd listens to his father. I don't care if you're a superstar. The person in the corner, of course, you have to filter through everything that they say. You know, you have to listen to some things that you know working in the ring, and you wouldn't be able to explain it to your trainer, and you can't argue with your trainer, so you say, yep. But at the end of the day, if they're telling you something that's a defense for your defense, you absolutely need to listen to them. And for your offense, you know when they overreact, and if you have a lot of experience. If you are not a very experienced fighter, Michael Moore wasn't a very experienced fighter. He was still learning the game. If you're not a very experienced fighter, you don't go out there and feel you know it all. The lesson to be learned from Michael Moore and Lennox Lewis too, those two guys. Michael Moore beat his own self in that ring. He did not listen to the trainer. He felt he was at the top. He got an inflated head, and because of that, like George Foreman versus Ali, he set up himself to fail. Never be too smart that you won't listen to people around you, you know, when they're telling you things, because they can give you a different perspective. On that note, that's why George Foreman got all those knockouts. It wasn't just that he was a KO artist and he had a lot of power, like all of these casual fans say. No, you got to set up a guy to get a knockout, especially elite fighters. They mustn't see it coming, and you don't have a lot of chances. Marcos Maidana almost knocked out Floyd Mayweather. Well, not really, but he hurt him. You know what I'm saying? He hurt him. That's because Marcos Maidana set up Floyd for that punch. Manny Pacquiao hurt Floyd Mayweather in round 4. Set him up for the punch. You have to set a guy up. You have to get a guy throwing his offense. Make him underestimate. You have to make him reach a bit. And then once he's open enough, you can get him and stand. So it takes a lot of smarts to knock out a fighter. You know. Gennady Golovkin's a killer. Deontay Wilder's a killer. But it's still heavy hands that they're counting on. Against elite fighters, you're going to have to be smarter than that. You're going to have to set them up, you know. Mike Tyson used to get people out of there real fast until he met Evander Holyfield. The guys he was facing weren't elite fighters like Evander Holyfield. Wasn't elite fighters like Lennox Lewis. Wasn't elite fighters like, you know. He wasn't elite fighters. So Mike Tyson had his way with those dudes. When you meet an elite fighter, those things that you usually use to knock out other people, you can't use those things. You have to have other tools in your basket. Alright? On that note, you guys, and you got to study the fighters you're facing. On that note, you guys have a great one.